Smith Show coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'll get my reads in a moment. I don't have that. That's why I can't read it in front of you. I don't memorize all of these things. Listen, I got a lot of stuff to get into. Make no mistake about it. There's a lot of stuff to get into. Big Friday in the world of sports. Big time game coming up tonight. Los Angeles Lakers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, Jason Witten has returned to football. He's going to be a Dallas Cowboy. We'll be getting into that. We'll talk to our very own Mel Kiper Jr. at the start of hour number 2. Why? Because he's Mel Kiper Jr. That's why. And Kyler Murray's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft, the reigning Heisman Trophy Award winner out of Oklahoma. Kingsbury, the new coach who doesn't deserve to be the head coach of a National Football League team, nevertheless, is the head coach hired by the Arizona Cardinals. That's the guy that he wants in all likelihood. That's what they'll do. They'll draft him. They'll trade, Josh Rosen, and that will be that. So we'll talk about all of that with Mel Kiper Jr. But the first order of business is the news that came down after I went off the air yesterday on radio. Got to get into a little baseball. Bryce Harper, 13 years, $330 million from the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, let me say this. First thought that went to my mind, I'm very, very, very happy that the New York Yankees didn't sign that deal. I'm very happy they didn't do that because they didn't need to do that. We've seen enough marquee, major, big-time hitters come through the Bronx wearing Yankee pinstripes, good enough to get you to the postseason, but not good enough to deliver you a world championship. And the fact of the matter is, you got to have elite pitching. Pitching that shows up. See, this is why I love the Houston Astros. This is why it pained me to watch the Boston Red Sox last year. Because you had cats that showed up. Whether it's Chris Sale in Boston, or Porcello rather, or whether it was Verlander and Keuchel and those boys in Houston, you got to have pitching. You got to have 2 frontline starters. That's what you got to have. And as much as I like Severino, he's had moments where he's wet the bed. Tanaka's Tanaka. I don't think CC Sabathia, he's 37 years of age. This is his last year. We get all of that. But I'm not sure about how reliable and stout the pitching is going to be for the Yankees. So I'm very, very happy that they weren't the ones that signed Bryce Harper to $330 million. Now, having said all of that, it's very, very important that I say this. I actually think that Bryce Harper kind of or Arenado's making in Colorado. So my attitude is, hey, to each his own. It's about what you choose. And in the case of Bryce Harper, according to Scott Boras, he wanted a long-term deal. He wanted the kind of contract that said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to retire here. There's a no-trade clause, but there's also a no opt-out clause for his part either. Philly's committed to him. He's committed to Philly. And I got to tell you something. I think it's a win-win for both. The man's going to average $25.4 million per season, number one. Going to put him out there in right field. Defensively, from a metrics perspective, he's not expected to be worse than he was last year. He's expected to be better, even though the average was .249, a 70% drop-off from the .319 batting average he had the previous year. Let's remember that Bryce Harper, career on-base percentage of .388, slugging percentage of .512. I mean, let's give the man respect where it's due. He's a special, special talent. National League MVP in 2015. He's a special talent. And when you look at the numbers that he signed for, let's be very, very clear about something here. Man's going to make $25 million a year. And on top of it all, you're the Phillies. Not only Do you still keep at least 3 starters in your rotation and 2 relievers before really triggering or tinkering towards that luxury tax? But you've positioned yourself because of his contract, which, I mean, when you really, really look at how it averages out, it's like 12th in the league. When you really look at it, it doesn't prevent him, or the Phillies rather, from going out there and pursuing Mike Trout. Could you imagine Mike Trout and Bryce Harper on the same team? Lord have mercy. Now that would be something special. Now we talking world championship right there. Because Mike Trout's the best. And oh, by the way, if Bryce Harper, because according to our very own Tim Kirkchin, the number had to be 325. The second Manny Machado got 300. You had to give Bryce Harper $325 million. You had to figure out a way how you going to get to that point. So if I had to tack 3 additional years onto it to make sure I got him to that number, that was what I was going to have to do if I were the Philadelphia Phillies. So we understand it. But I got to tell you this. If Bryce Harper is worth 330 and Manny Machado is worth 300, what in God's name is Mike Trout worth? What on earth is Mike Trout worth? I'm not going to lie to y'all. I think at this point, Mike Trout has the opportunity. I'm not saying it's going to happen because it'll probably be more like 400. But Mike Trout has the potential to be the first $500 million player in baseball, in the history of sports. $500 million. As crazy and ridiculous as that sounds, he has the potential to be that. All I'm telling you is you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. You can play around with it all you want to. You absolutely positively can't ignore that possibility because he's Mike Trout. And none of these players are better than him. Now, you can look at Bryce Harper and say they're in the same class. I don't think so. Not after last season. Mike Trout is the creme de la creme. He's clearly the class of Major League Baseball. There's no one on his level. So if you got somebody like Manny Machado getting $300 million, imagine what Trout's going to look for. And then, of course, that begs the question, how's Major League Baseball going to pay for all of this stuff? Ladies and gentlemen, television deals. National broadcast television rights, local broadcast television rights, all of that stuff plays a role in the money that teams are able to generate. Not to mention the fact that Bryce Harper is marketable, just like Mike Trout would be marketable. So there's a lot of things that you could utilize that could position you to pay these guys. It's very, very few guys that are going to ever get paid like this. Bryce Harper, to his credit, ended up being one of them. Mike Trout, to his credit, will inevitably be one of them. That's what we're talking about here. It can't be ignored. It's just that simple. Bryce Harper, congratulations to him. Philadelphia Phillies, I think, definitely will be better than they were last year. We will see what happens. But I will say this. There appeared to be hesitancy on the part of Bryce Harper's willingness to sign his deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. When he has his press conference, whether it be in probably Clearwater, Florida, for spring training, he needs to make sure everyone is fully aware that he was just in negotiations. You do not want to give the city of Philadelphia the impression that you didn't want to be here. Because first of all, Bryce Harper's going to have it rough enough because inevitably all of them go through a slump. And when his slump arrives, Philadelphia ain't going to be kind. Trust me, with these amount of dollars, it comes with expectations. Philadelphia don't play around. I'm here right now. I'm telling you what I know. Philadelphia don't play. I worked in this city for 17 years. I'm not bragging, but I was a preeminent voice in this city for the vast majority of that time. I know this city. It's a second home to me. I am telling you what I know. This town will be merciless if this man does not live up to expectations. I'm just letting y'all know. So just keep that in mind. But I also want to say it was a good deal on the part of the Philadelphia Phillies to get those years, to get him at that number, to not compromise your future plans, to pursue future free agency, to keep some of your talent intact while making sure to not necessarily trigger that luxury tax number. I got to give credit where credit is due. Plain and simple. And then when you look at some of these things, when you look at some of these payrolls, it's just not, you just can't ignore it. I'm just looking down at some of these things that I'm about to share with for 2019 is $137 million. They ranked 13th in Major League Baseball. Things gonna get very interesting. Philadelphia Phillies ain't playing. Not just in a top five market. Now they're acting like a team in a top five market. Let's hope it continues. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Other thing I want to get into was LeBron James, the Los Angeles Lakers, going up against the Milwaukee Bucks tonight at the Staples Center. The Lakers have 21 games left. They're about 3.5 games out of the eighth and final playoff spot. Something very interesting happened last night. The Golden State Warriors lost the game. Kevin Durant did not play, but they still lost to the Orlando Magic. Kevin Durant was receiving rest. They still sitting there lost to the Orlando Magic. But having lost, had Denver won in Denver against Utah, Denver would have been the number one seed in the Western Conference today. But on their home turf, a place where I believe their record was like 27-4 coming into last night's game, they lost a home game to the Utah Jazz. That is what happened to the Denver Nuggets. And I'm here to tell you, I am of this belief, as crazy as it sounds, the Lakers could beat most teams in the Western Conference. The way they were flowing earlier this season, before LeBron James went down Christmas Day, I was predicting the Lakers were going to the conference finals. And I'm not backing up from that. I'm like what it would have been had LeBron not gotten hurt. But now that LeBron has been hurt and is working his way back into things and how that's compromised the team in his absence, I no longer see that as a possibility. Now I'm just worried about them making the playoffs. But I will tell you this. Could the Lakers beat Denver? I think they could. I think they could. I think it'd probably go, I wanted to say 7, but it would have to go 6. I don't think they'd win a game 7 at Denver. But if they stole one and then won the 3 games that they played at the Staples Center, I think they could pull that off. But it starts with tonight. You got 21 games left. And over the course of the next 8 days, the Los Angeles Lakers have 5 games. They play Milwaukee tonight. They play Phoenix at Phoenix tomorrow night. They play the Clippers Monday, the Nuggets Wednesday, and the Boston Celtics Friday. That means 4 of their next 5 games are at home, including 3 straight. The one hiccup in terms of a road trip is to Phoenix for tomorrow night. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Lakers, in my opinion, don't go 4-1 over their next 5 games, they're not making the playoffs. They're going to have to either beat Milwaukee tonight and then 3 of your next 4, or lose to Milwaukee tonight and win every other game until next Saturday, or through next Saturday against Boston. They got to do it. Because if they don't do it, Lakers, in my opinion, are not making the playoffs. I think it's that serious. There would still be 16 games left. But Sacramento and the Clippers, and to some degree Minnesota, would have to be cooperative. And I don't think you're going to get that kind of cooperation from those folks. Sacramento don't mind getting to the playoffs. They want to go against the Golden State Warriors. They like their chances. They like the fact that they be able to play with house money. That's what they like. The Clippers were supposed to be tanking. You trade Tobias Harris. If you make the playoffs, that means your draft pick is no longer lottery protected because you're not in the lottery, and as a result, it goes to Boston. But if you miss the playoffs, you keep your pick. I thought the Clippers were going to lose on purpose, and it's lo and behold, they still trying to win games. And as it pertains to LeBron, LeBron spoke to the media. And do we have sound for LeBron speaking to the media yesterday? Because he was asked about the criticism about his defense. And I don't have the quote directly in front of me at this particular moment. So I'll paraphrase if we don't have the sound. LeBron James basically invited everybody to come at him. That's what he did. He invited everybody to just come at him. You know, my teammates, I don't care about criticism as long as my teammates and I are fine, blah, blah. Oh, whatever, stop. Here's the deal. LeBron James, once again, is trying to change the narrative. And this is the lone, as far as I'm concerned, it's the lone criticism I have of him. There's certainly not much to criticize about his game. He's the greatest in the world when healthy. When not healthy, not so much. But this dude is phenomenal. And he's going to go in that special room in the Hall of Fame where everybody ain't invited. See, there's different levels to the Hall of Fame. I don't believe that Hall of Famers who never won championships belong in the same room with those who did. I think that D. Wade belongs in the same room with Kobe and LeBron and MJ. I think that a different room is reserved for the Karl Malones, John Stockton, Patrick Ewings of the world. I think Olajuwon belongs in that room. I think Shaq belongs in that elite room. I think guys like that belong in. I love my brother Charles Barkley, special. Great guy, great man. I think that he belongs in the house. Hell, with how he carried Phoenix to the finals, how AI carried the Sixers to the finals, and how great they were as offensive players and what have you, I think they belong in the house. Hell, I think you should be on the same floor in some respects. But there's a special room for the Isaiah Thomases, the Larry Birds, the Michael Jordans of the world, the Shaq, the Kobes, the Tim Duncans of the world, D. Wade, LeBron James of the world. I think there's a special room for certain dudes where only a select few get to enter. And LeBron is up there. He's right in that room. There's no up there. He's in that room. But here's the problem with LeBron. Constantly trying to change the narrative. No one said anything. Nobody with basketball sense would say that LeBron James can't do anything on the basketball court. He's that great. What we're saying is you don't sometimes. Literally choosing not to. When we talk about LeBron James and him not playing defense, it's not that he's not playing defense, ladies and gentlemen. It's that he's pointing the finger at other people for not doing it when it was his job. And he's demonstrative and publicly so while doing so. That's not right. You can't lead like that. You're responsible for that. And that's the kind of thing that he has to be held accountable for. That is the kind of thing that he has to be accountable for. Got to hold him accountable for that. Passing the buck. Can't do that. And expect people not to notice. And going up against Milwaukee tonight, and then the Clippers, Nuggets, and Boston next week after, This reprieve against Phoenix, supposedly. We gonna watch how LeBron James acts. Is he a galvanizer? Somebody that's gonna bring cats together? Is he gonna do that? Or is he going to be a divider? It's a legitimate basketball question. Nobody's talking about his mama or his wife or children or anything like that. We're talking basketball, ladies and gentlemen. And when you play in front of millions of people, we have a right to look at you and dissect what you're doing. It's not a crime. It's not a crime. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888 say ESPN is the number to call up. This 888-729-3776. Back with your calls and more in a minute before Mel Kiper Jr. comes on in hour number 2. And remember, Jeff Passan, our Major League Baseball analyst and reporter, he'll be on to talk with us about Bryce Harper and then some in a minute, so don't touch that dial. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Bryce Harper is finalizing an agreement with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Phillies won 80 last year, but they missed the playoffs for the
13-year, $330 million deal.
Clearly, Bryce Harper wanted to make one deal for the rest of his career.
The NBA is on ESPN Radio, by the way. Tune in tomorrow night as Kevin Durant and the Warriors visit Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers, a Saturday night special. Presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Also, Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. With more than 30 unique coverage options available, Progressive knows small business. Learn more at ProgressiveCommercial.com. My honor and privilege to have my next guest on the phone with yours truly. He's an MLB insider and analyst. Absolutely exceptional. Looking very much forward to talking to him about stuff that's been transpiring in Major League Baseball. Jeff Passan. He's live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Jeff, good afternoon. How are you, man? How's everything?
Stephen A., my friend, how are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Let's get right to it. Bryce Harper, this deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. Are they both winners? Did Philly come out really looking very, very good, considering the fact that the deal only averages about 25.3 or 25.4 million annually? When you had somebody as the Dodgers rumored to be way north of 30 million a year that they had offered to Bryce Harper, is there a winner and loser in this?
Not only north of 30 million, Stephen A., the Dodgers were north of 40 million
40
at some points in the contract.
Wow.
Yeah, early on in the contract, Bryce Harper could have taken a deal that would have paid him more than $80 million for his first 2 years and opted out and gone back into free agency. But at the start of this process, he said, I want to find a new family. He wanted to find a home. He wanted to find a place where he was going to get to spend potentially the rest of his career. And so when you see a deal of this length, of this magnitude, of the dollars involved, it all goes back to Bryce Harper's desire to spend time in one more city for the rest of his career. And he got the most money ever for a professional sports team sport athlete in history, any sport, $330 million, and he's not going to be going anywhere. I mean, 13 years, no opt-outs, a no-trade clause. He can be a Philadelphia Philly for as long as he wants.
Jeff, answer me this. What was his problem with the Washington Nationals, who offered him 10 years and $300 million, according to reports last September? What was his issue with them? Why did he not want to stay there? Because he's just coming 2 miles down. I mean, he's just coming, 2 hours down the road in the same division, for crying out loud. What was his issue with the Nationals?
Well, if you take a look at the structure of that deal, there was a lot of deferred money. And I mean deferred money until Bryce Harper, who today is 26 years old, was 60 years old.
Yep.
We're talking like Bobby Bonilla deferred money right here. And the present day value of that contract simply was not what he wanted. And, it was $300 million on the term sheet, but in reality, we all know money today is worth a lot more than money tomorrow. And Bryce Harper understood that. And more than anything, he wanted to go out and test the market. He wanted to see what it had in store for him. And it took about 4 months, but finally he figured out, okay, the Phillies stepped up. They gave him the extra 3 years that he wanted, and you brought up a very astute point earlier. That $25.4 million average annual value is important because the way that the luxury tax is calculated in baseball is not based on what you're making this year, next year, any other year. It's on the AAV of that deal. And when you can get a guy of Bryce Harper's caliber for $25 million, that gives you a lot more room, that gives you a lot more flexibility, and that allows you, if you're the Philadelphia Phillies, to send the bat signal across country to Mike Trout down in Orange County and say, hey, buddy, when you're a free agent in 2020, come on home, because Mike Trout's from Millville, New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. He's a huge Eagles fan, loves the place, and the Los Angeles Angels have a big decision to make, whether they're going to make him the highest paid player in sports history and perhaps the first $400 million athlete we've seen.
I'm going to lean on your expertise, Jeff Passan, right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I'm going to lean on your expertise. I'm going to take my opinion out of the mix because I need to be educated by you on this particular issue.
When do you ever take your opinion out of the mix? This is history right here.
I'm saying it's the first time for everything. This is history-making stuff right here. Because here's where I need your help, Jeff. Here's where I need your help, Jeff. I'm of the mindset that Mike Trout is in Orange County as we speak. I've seen no parades taking place in Anaheim or anything like that. So when you look at it from that perspective, is any player worth this amount of money or what Mike Trout undeniably will be worth according to the market by 2020 when you consider the fruits that it probably won't reap? Could you explain that to me?
Let's put it this way, Stephen A. Let's look at Baseball Economics 101 right now. Baseball Economics 101 is that Major League Baseball over this past year had about $10 billion in revenue. Now, of that $10 billion, what percentage goes to the players or player costs? It's going to be around 50%, something along those lines. So you have $5 billion that are going to be spent on players, player development, and things along those lines. When you don't have a cap system, so we're talking different from the NFL, different from the NBA, a player is worth what the market says he's worth. And in Mike Trout, what we've got is a player who, for the first 7 years of his career, has been better than anyone in history. Now, I understand, in baseball now, guys don't get paid anymore for what they've done. They get paid for what they're projected to do. But nothing about Mike Trout at this point says that he's going to slow down anytime soon. He's still a good center fielder. He still has a great eye. He's striking out less than he ever has before. He's got speed. He's got power. He is everything that you want in a baseball player. And so, hold on, let me finish.
But Jeff,
this is where I'm kind of. Just because you haven't won a championship does not mean you are not worth a significant amount of money, a record-breaking amount of money. I can't hold Mike Trout responsible for what his teammates haven't done.
And that's why I was trying to interject, because neither am I. I'm not trying to make a point of holding him responsible for what his teammates didn't do, nor am I questioning that the market clearly states what he's worth, and it's undeniable based on what we've seen in the first 7 years of his career. What I'm saying is, if you're going to lose anyway as an organization, why dole out that amount of money to anybody if still you're going to end up watching the postseason come October? That's my argument. To that you say what?
There are two points to be made there. Number one, the money's going somewhere, Stephen A. And if the money ain't going to the players, who's it going to?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Going into the pocket of ownership.
I
And
got
I'll tell you something. Fans don't like owners who keep money in their pockets.
Nope.
They like seeing them go spend money on players. Number two, and this is a more baseball-centric and important point in that regard, the Angels have a really good farm system for the first time in about a decade. And if you want to surround Mike Trout with young players and young talent and then go out and complement it and spend that way, that's the way to get a division title. And there's going to be, the Houston Astros, as good of a core as they have, as good of a young core as they have, Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole are going to be free agents after this year. And if the Astros don't bring back one of those two guys, at least, they're going to be vulnerable. And that's where the Angels, if they lock in Trout and they bring in some other guys, can make a run at them. But let me tell you something. This is an important point contextually. Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, has signed 2 long-term deals for aging players for over $100 million. Albert Pujols for $240, Josh Hamilton for $125. The former is a disaster right now, and the latter is even worse. And that's $365 million he spent on aging players. And that has to get into your head if you're an owner when you're looking to sign a guy potentially through age 40.
I'll throw this at you. Is it possible that Bryce Harper made this move because he knows the chances of him getting Mike Trout is significant? Is it possible that he chose the Phillies because of that reason?
Let's put it this way. I was told that Bryce Harper did not want an opt-out clause. And I was told this by multiple people, not just people in Harper's camp either. This isn't spin. I was told that Bryce Harper did not want an opt-out because he wanted the ability to go to players and recruit them and say, hey, I have a no-trade clause. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here for 13 damn years. So if you want to sign up, if you want to get on this team, if you want to win championships, I'm going to be here for you. And that is a very compelling thing for someone like Mike Trout to hear.
Did Manny Machado deserve 10 years, $300 million from the Padres?
Yep. Because Manny Machado, if you don't ask about it, I was out with some evaluators last night, and they said, who do you think is a better player, Manny Machado or Bryce Harper? And I said, Manny Machado. And they said, same. And a vast majority of evaluators believe that Manny Machado, because he is an all-world third baseman who also has power, is going to be a better, not just a better player now, but has the ability to age better. What Bryce Harper brings to the Phillies is a face of the franchise, is someone around whom you can market, is someone who is going to bring people to the ballpark. You know, the Phillies have sold well over 100,000 tickets just in the last 24 hours. I mean, they're selling out game after game after game now because of the Bryce Harper signing. That's what that brings. But as far as the player goes, when you have a team like the Padres that are on the come up right now, they need a guy like Manny Machado to be in the middle of that lineup every day.
Jeff Passan right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Before I let you go, I'm about to find out whether or not you're going to be as cruel to me as Tim Kirkjian and Buster Olney are. I don't know if you know this, Jeff. But they they start cracking up laughing because they never, ever, ever deliver me good news about the New York Yankees. Ever. They always have bad news for me, Jeff. So I'm going to put you on the spot. If we're talking about Mike Trout, we're talking about the Angels, we're talking about the Phillies. Any possibility at all that the Yankees could get themselves in that conversation that he might consider coming to New York City? Is that possible?
Stephen A., can I actually do you one better than Mike Trout right now?
Go ahead.
I was out with these guys last night, and they said, who's your World Series pick this year? And I did not hesitate saying that I think the New York Yankees are going to win the World Series this year.
Yes. I knew I liked you, Jeff. I knew I liked you. Way to go, Jeff. Way to go. That's what I'm talking about.
You don't know if I'm telling the truth. I might just be pandering. This is the first time we've talked.
No, Well, damn it, Panda for now, okay? At least you did that for me. I appreciate you, Jeff, man. I got to run, man. Thank you so much. Great job as always. Looking forward to talking to you throughout the baseball season, man. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Take it easy. The one and only Jeff Passan, MLB insider for ESPN. Right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Finally, somebody gave me some good news from the world of baseball. Tim Kirchin and Buster Olney just have a ball laughing at me and my misery when it comes to the New York Yankees. You know, the only person worse than them is Don Juan LaGreca at ESPN New York. You had Benedict Arnold turning against me all the time because he loves his Mets, and because I get on him about it, he returns the favor. Reciprocation is all he's about. But I digress. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. If you missed my opening segment today, go check it out. On demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by Capital One. Capital One is reimagining banking, offering accounts with no fees or minimums that can be opened in 5 minutes. Capital One. Hey, hey! What's in your wallet? Back with more of your calls in a minute.
Gentlemen, you've been sitting around for too long. Where you want to get to the game, NFL, college, MLB, or concert. Look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Go to vividseats.com and enter promo code ESPN to get 10% off your order.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
Smith Show pay-per-view this show is on Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed.
You know what never goes out of style? Surprising a friend or loved one with a buy one, get one free multicolored rose bouquets for $29.99 from 1-800-Flowers.com. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Also, the Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. That's 888-729-3776. Hour number 2 up next. My man Mel Kiper Jr. is going to come on and talk to us about Kyler Murray, whether he's going to be the number 1 overall pick or not. We're going to talk about Haskins and whether or not the Giants should grab him. Will the Raiders or anybody get in the way? We're going to talk about all of that stuff. But it's going to get us some more basketball talk with the Lakers playing the Milwaukee Bucks, hosting the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Some Saturday night basketball. Philadelphia is going against the Golden State Warriors. All right? A lot of stuff going on next week as well. Whole bunch of stuff to get into. And guess what? I ain't going nowhere.
The Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. As always, the number to call over is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. It's always an honor and a privilege for me to have my next guest on the line with yours truly, the foremost college football guru that I've ever known, the great Mel Kiper Jr., my colleague and buddy, right here with Stephen A. What's up, Big Tom? How are you, man?
Stephen A., great to be with you, Tom.
You know, listen, the NFL Scouting Combine, just for those out there who don't understand all the intricacies that go on at an NFL Scouting Combine, break it down to the layman out there, what the NFL Scouting Combine is all about and why is it so necessary in the eyes of NFL officials, Mel?
Well, it's bringing everybody in to not only work out, Stephen A., but interview with every team, medical with the teams, get heights, weights, and speeds and measurables for underclassmen that don't even have any idea what they are prior to this event. And then it gives you momentum going into your pro day. Or you can choose to show up for the medical and the interviews, bypass the workouts, and just get ready for your pro day. Any way you slice it, it's about just showing up here, doing what you feel comfortable doing, and then you have your pro day, either make amends for if you didn't work out well, or don't do it at your pro day if you nailed it. So I think this is a head start on everything, but for the NFL team, it's really their first opportunity to get to know these kids, and it's their first opportunity to get to know the measurables, the accurate measurables, of all these 144 underclassmen that will be in this draft this year.
But highlight how it's not limited to just that, Mel. And the reason I asked that question, and it's somewhat of a loaded question, is just days ago, recently in the news, we heard about the Dallas Cowboys, Randy Gregory, expecting another indefinite suspension because of drug use, presumably, and what have you. This is a guy that once showed up to the scouting combine and got into similar trouble, which is why he dropped from being a first-round pick to being grabbed in the second round. So we know what they look for on the field. We know what they look for in terms of your measurables physically. But talk to my audience about what the other things that NFL teams look for, the kind of questions that they might ask, a bit invasive, I might add, to find out who you are and what you're all about.
Well, no question. And I think the questions, a lot of times, you're prepped for that, too. The players are prepped for these interviews. You try to throw them curveballs and some teams operate a little differently than others, but they are prepped, Stephen A. They know going in the type of things are going to be asked, and they are ready for that. So I know a lot of people know, what are we going to take from that? You mentioned the testing that goes on. You get the results, and you make, obviously, decisions based on that. And certainly all the numbers that come in from an individual workout standpoint, of everybody else. If you get a first-round pick back for Josh Rosen, maybe from the Washington Redskins, you can make that trade. Kyler Murray, I think, has to be. Common sense tells you he has to be in play for the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, let me ask you this. When you look at recent quarterbacks, we can look at last year in terms of Rosen, in terms of Allen and others. We can look at Deshaun Watson from a few years ago. We can look at Baker Mayfield. We can look at a plethora of quarterbacks and what have you. We could even go to route of Carson Wentz from 2-3 years ago. I would ask you this, Mel Kiper Jr., when you look at Kyler Murray, where would he rank in your eyes compared to all the young quarterbacks you've already seen for 2 or 3 years in the National Football League?
Well, he's a wild card. I said that about Baker Mayfield. When you get outliers, Stephen A., they're a wild card. That's what outliers are. We will never have had, when this pick is made, you've never had a quarterback with his measurables go in the first round, let alone the number one pick overall. So we've never had that. Well, Russell Wilson 7 years ago, after a brilliant college career at NC State and 1 year at Wisconsin, was the 75th pick in the draft, third round. 7 years, fast forward 7 years, and we have the number one pick, maybe being a quarterback similar in terms of height, weight, and all the athleticism and all the talent and the football IQ, everything. So there you go. Russell Wilson made Kyler Murray a lot of money. If that's going to happen, he would be the test case. He is a test case positively for Kyler Murray, and that helps every quarterback that comes along like him become a much higher draft pick than Russell Wilson was.
Mel Kiper Jr. right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Is there a close second when we're talking about Haskins compared to Kyler Murray Jr.? Is there a definitive number one, number two? Are they nip and tuck as potentially the number one pick as a quarterback? How do you view the competition between those two individuals?
Well, let's face it, an outlier or wild card goes to Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury comes in after being fired at Texas Tech, being offered an offensive coordinator job, accepting it at USC. Now he's the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Max protection is not going to be the thing. The offensive line there is not good anyway. Awful offensive line. Kyler Murray fits that. Once they build that line up and they do the kind of things necessary, people fit their scheme. Bottom line is Dwayne Haskins is a traditional guy. He's a drop-back pocket passer. He can move the chains when he has to, but he's a New York Giant. He fits what they've done with Eli Manning. But it's the perfect team for Haskins is the Giants. They may have to move up from 6 to 3 to get him. And the perfect fit for Kyler Murray is Cliff Kingsbury and the Arizona Cardinals. Then we get into who the third quarterback will be. Drew Lock, Missouri. Daniel Jones, Duke. Jarrett Stidham, Auburn. There's going to be some competition for that. But I think Drew Lock will settle in as the third quarterback off the board, followed by Daniel Jones, then Jarrett Stidham from Auburn.
It's interesting that you bring that up about Haskins and the Giants because you talk about it being an ideal fit based on what the Giants do with Eli Manning. My argument would be times have changed. The game has evolved. And when you look at a Kyler Murray being the dual threat that he is it wise for a team like the New York Giants who's missed the playoffs like 6 of the last 7 years or 5 of the last 6 years, when you look at it from that perspective, is it wise for them to go the route of being traditional and following in the footsteps of an Eli Manning, or going with a different situation or a different alternative, Mel?
Well, the traditional is what's going to be every year. You're very rarely going to get Kyler Murray, okay? Baker Mayfield, they're rarities, okay? They're outliers. Now, that Drew Brees was. one. Think about Drew Brees, first pick in the second round. Now we're elevating guys all the way up to the number one pick stats. We did it with Mayfield. We're doing it with Murray. Things have changed. You have to adapt to change, adjust to change, and not think like it's the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s. So it's a different game. If you're the Giants, you're not going to get Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's going to be gone before the Giants pick. Your next option is Dwayne Haskins. He can throw the ball. He can throw it accurately. He's a gamer. He's a winner. He loves to play the position. He's built to be an NFL quarterback. Everything about him is to be a great NFL quarterback. And he's going to have that opportunity, I think, with the Giants or somebody else early in the first round. But there's no comp to Kyler Murray, Stephen A. There's none of that. There's not going to be another Kyler Murray coming along. Who knows how many years it'll be before you get another Kyler Murray type quarterback that had that time of year, that has that type of ability, and he's perfect for today's NFL as a distributor of the football, like a point guard, way behind the line of scrimmage. We have the stats: 6 foot and under quarterbacks have fewer passes batted down in the NFL than 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'6" quarterbacks. So I think it's a kind of a perfect storm, Stephen A., with today's NFL suiting Kyler Murray and the Kingsbury factor with the Arizona Cardinals. Everything kind of has come together perfectly for him to be the number one pick overall.
We're talking to Mel Kiper Jr. right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Running backs and offensive linemen showing up at the NFL Scouting Combine today. This is the day for them. When I think about offensive linemen, Mel Kiper Jr., I think about this kid Quentin Nelson that the Colts drafted. I think about how he buffered the offensive line. I think about how much more pleasurable life was for Andrew Luck in his return last year after missing the entire previous season. And so obviously when you talk about an offensive line, that's almost everything in the world of football in this day and age. Is there an offensive lineman or two that stand out in your mind that everybody should pay attention to and give recognition to for this upcoming NFL draft?
No, there's nobody in that league, and that's the issue. There's not an offensive lineman, tackle, or guard in that league. There's just interesting things. Juwan Taylor from Florida will end up being the top pure tackle. I think Jonah Williams from Alabama will end up being the top pure guard, maybe even a center. I think there's some guys that are going to be second to fourth rounders, like Chris Lindstrom from Boston College, like Connor McGovern from Penn State, that are going to be go Benshaw from Wisconsin. They're going to be really good players in the NFL, but they're not going to go Chuma Adoga from USC is a guy I really like, an underrated, maybe second rounder. He's only 6'3.5", but he's got long arms and great feet. So I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities with offensive linemen in that second, third, fourth round area. But in the first round, it's just not happening. College is developing wide receivers. They're not developing offensive tackles.
What about at the running back spot for this draft? Who do you like?
I like Josh Jacobs at Alabama. I like him as a first-round possibility. I think he can do everything you want a running back to do. He runs with a chip on his shoulder. He runs hard. He was productive the second half of the season. He can catch and he can block. I think if you look at a guy like Devin Singletary from Florida Atlantic, over 700 career carries, never been hurt. He's a guy very dependable. Would like to see him catch the ball a little more, and I think he'll work on that once he's in the league. But he's a good, pure running back. I think a guy like Miles Sanders, very underrated coming out of Penn State. Ben Snell, underrated coming out of Kentucky. I think those are some guys. Bryce Love coming off the injury. How far does he drop? It was a one-time considered a first-round pick. Yeah, Fabian Harris, a forgotten man in Alabama. He went back to Alabama to be the guy, but it ended up being the Josh Jacobs show late in the year. How far does Fabian Harris go? Does he get into the third round, or does he go in the second round where he probably should? Darrell Henderson, very versatile at Memphis, can do it all. David Montgomery, a keep the chains moving type of inside guy who's got a little bounce to the outside. So there's a ton of running backs, Stephen A., most of which will go, I think all of which, outside of Jacobs, will go second to the fourth round. There's going to be some really good running backs in that late, I'd say, day 2, early day 3 category.
Let me throw a different subject in your direction because I'm interested in getting your perspective because I got so much respect for what you bring to the table, Mel Kiper Jr. I just want to ask you this. You see a baseball contract like a Bryce Harper signing 13 years, $330 million. And then you see the discrepancy between that and a guy like Kirk Cousins, the largest amount of guarantees, $84 million, being a quarterback for a National Football League team. We could go the obvious route, talk about the physicality of the sport of football, the injuries that are more, regular in that sport that obviously exist in baseball. Therefore, you can rely on the players themselves being healthy and ready to go as opposed to in football where one injury could cost you your career. When you see the numbers doled out in other sports, but you see what's not being doled out in the world of professional football, as somebody who not just knows college football, but knows football, period, What's the kind of message you think the public at large should recognize about professional football players and college football players in terms of what they deserve, what they've earned, etc.? What kind of stuff jumps out to your mind that you'd like people to know?
I was just talking to Todd McShay. We're sitting here talking. I said, I went back when I was preparing for the combine to look at as a point of reference how other players have done and get some comps and say, okay, well, I expect these guys, if these are the top players of the position, this is what they did, this is what I expect from players coming out this year. What you find when you do your research, a lot of the guys from those drafts are no longer in the NFL. The longevity of an NFL player, I tell you, Stephen, outside of the quarterback position, they're not playing long in this league. There's very few. Now, the elite will play, but there's not a lot of elite guys coming out. So, yeah, I mean, you would be amazed at how many players from just not that long ago. There's very few players from drafts going back 6, 7, 8, 10 years left in the NFL right now. So I think that's the thing. You're not getting the longevity. Obviously, your body will never be the same if you're playing the NFL when you get to certain ages. We know that. But it's a case where, hey, the great ones can do well, but there's so many that you had really high regard for coming out of really good college players that never sustain a pro career more than a year to 3 to 4 years. So it is pretty, when you do that research, it really brings light to the fact that, hey, you don't play. Football players coming out of college, they may have had great college careers. Their chances of making it in the NFL, and being in the NFL for a period of time is very slim.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about the Alliance of American Football? Was it Alliance of American Football, the AAF, that new XFL that's coming down the road led by Vince McMahon? What are your thoughts about those leagues and their existence, or what kind of staying power you think they'll have?
Well, it depends upon, obviously, the staying power. What you said, you saw they were in a little trouble early on. They got out of that issue they had, and now it seems like some people are giving them an opportunity. You're at a time of the year now where there's kind of a lull, but then March Madness starts. Major League Baseball starts. The NBA heats up for the playoffs, for the Masters, second week in April. The draft's coming up, spring practice in college football. There's a lot of other things. There's a lot of hockey fans out there. Some of them have their group of fans. So there's a lot of other things going on once we get into March that weren't there now in February. So I think they can benefit, get a little head start, but you would expect a drop off, and then also give them the time of players are going to be, box office. Who are you going to tune in to watch? Are they going to develop some guys at that level are really good players and look like they can translate back to the NFL? That's going to be interesting to see. And then after you go to the XFL, where are they going to get players? Are there going to be practice squad guys allocated to the NFL? They're talking they're going to go into the different areas of college football. We'll see. But where are you getting the players from that are good enough to sustain over the long haul viewer interest? That's the thing. And getting through those months where you have a lot of other options to choose from. February is a great time to start. When you get into March, and then you get into April, there's a lot of other things going on. And then you get into nice weather and all that. To me, football, you need to kind of regenerate. You need to look forward to it. I always look forward to the training camp of the NFL in July after having that break. And you don't have that break. If you're going to watch football, I like to watch prospects. That's what I'm paid to do. And that's what I do during the months, the whole year, and certainly these months leading up to the draft. But for a fan, if you want to eat pizza every day, you take your favorite food. You want to eat it every day. I think you still need a little bit of a break. These spring leagues have to work through that. You're going to have to. The fans are going to watch it at 12 months a year because other fans say, I need a break from this. So there's got to be something that draws them, and the competition is going to be there, and we'll see if they can sustain it. That's the thing. The nice start, we saw the XFL, we also a great start, we saw the reason everything go down after that. So the initial interest, the curiosity factor is there, but after week 2, week 3, especially into March, April, May, what's it look like then? We'll see. It doesn't, for me, resonate because in those months, I'm draft central. I'm watching prospects. I'm not watching anything else. But you can't really go to me for a good opinion on this because that's something I'm not watching. I'm watching college prospects now, and more to take 144 underclassmen in this draft. There's a lot of catching up to do there. Too much going on for me to worry about any other league. So I'm the kind of the worst person to ask about that.
Last question. We're talking to Mel Kiper, Jr. Radio, Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Last question to you. Going back to the whole Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray situation. If Arizona were to take Kyler Murray, or were planning on taking him with the number 1 overall pick, that means basically Josh Rosen's days obviously are numbered in Arizona. Where's the ideal landing spot for him? Because you already talked about the Giants taking somebody like a Haskins. Where's the ideal landing spot for Rosen?
I think it'll be Washington. I think the Redskins will be an ideal spot. They have that mid-first round pick at 15. Jake Gruden, his offense. Josh Rosen's a smart kid. He's got a year under his belt. He's played in the NFL. He's adapted to the NFL. Brandon with the worst team in the NFL, so you learn a lot. A horrible offensive line, worst offensive line in the NFL in front of him. So Josh Rosen, that's what you have to assess if you're the Redskins. Do you want Josh Rosen with a year of experience? Know where you had him rated last year, know what you thought of him coming in, and really compare that to where you had Drew Lock. How do you feel about Drew Lock from Missouri? How do you feel about Daniel Jones from Duke? Because they're the two options in the middle of the first round you could draft without any prior NFL experience. You know Rosen, you know he's been in the league. Arizona, there's some favorable comments coming out of Arizona from their players about Josh Rosen. That was the question. What do you feel? How would the players react to him? Well, it seemed like they reacted positively. So I think the Redskins have to go back and look at their scouting report from their team about him, and then also factor in how they feel about Rock and Jones. I think that would be an ideal fit for Josh Rosen going to the Washington Redskins. Jake Gruden had Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. Had Alex Smith. Alex Smith, unfortunately, had a significant injury. I think the Redskins, Miami maybe, Cincinnati, but I think the Redskins to me are the best. You have to get the best landing spot, that would be the Redskins.
Mel Kiper Jr., always appreciate you, buddy. Thanks so much, man. Go back to that scouting combine. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephen. You're the best, pal. Take care, my man.
All right, buddy. All right. The one and only Mel Kiper Jr. right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Column.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Need seats? Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat. Plus, ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I am coming at you today live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm actually heading to Wilmington, Delaware after the show today. I thought I was just giving a speech, I guess. Talking to some folks. Apparently, I'm going to be honored. It's HBCU week, historically black colleges and universities. And it's a week in which Wilmington, Delaware celebrates HBCUs. And I've been honored enough to be considered a prominent graduate of an HBCU, having graduated from Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina back in 1992. And they have a fundraising event. They would like me to speak, and apparently I'm going to be honored tonight. Governors showing up, senators showing up, the mayor of Wilmington, Delaware showing up. I didn't realize I was, I had that kind of cachet. I mean, damn. I mean, it's like that. I might run for office one day. I'm only kidding. Trust me. I ain't running for office. That much I can tell you. Even though I don't think I'd be a bad president. I really don't. I mean, I wouldn't be divisive, but I would be frank. Everyone would not love me, but everyone wouldn't hate me, and I wouldn't play favorites. My favoritism would be aimed towards the truth and what's in the best interest of America, not me, not one partisan side. I'm talking the best interest of America. As Hulk Hogan would say, why? 'Cause I am a real American. Fight for the rights of everyone. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your line. Dan, 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 dan. I used to love when Hulk Hogan did that. Now my two favorites when they enter in the arena is Goldberg when he was fighting. I loved his entrance. And The Rock. Can you smell what The Rock is cooking. That was something special. I digress. Let me get back to the phones at 888-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Josh. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Josh.
How you doing,
Josh,
man?
are you there?
Stephen A.
I'm all right, man. Come on, man. Go ahead.
I just want to say I'm happy you brought up the Delaware thing because I'm from a minority, and I want to say, like, you're a big inspiration for me. I play baseball, and the media thing, like, is something I want to do in the future, and you inspire me a lot, so I just want to put that out there.
I appreciate it. Keep grinding. Keep grinding. Make it happen. Go ahead, man. Make your point.
Most definitely, most definitely. So my point is, on first pick, y'all brought up the football players and their guaranteed money and all that, and and I want to connect that to baseball. So my question was, why is it like everything when like a baseball player gets a contract goes not connected to football? Like, I don't see like what's the big deal. I feel like baseball is a real hard sport, and I think it's questioned.
I don't understand your question. What do you? I need you to be a bit more concise. I don't understand your question. Get right to it. Say it directly what you're asking. What are you asking?
Like, why is baseball's difficulty questioned? That's basically it.
Why is baseball's difficulty questioned?
Yeah, like the difficulty of the sport is like they were talking about Kirk Cousins guaranteed $84 million, right? And then it was compared to Bryce Harper $330 million. Yeah.
All right. Again, why is baseball's difficulty questioned? I don't even understand that question. Here's what I would answer, and I appreciate the call. Thank you. Baseball has 25 men on its roster. Football has 53. Football is far more violent than the sport of Major League Baseball. So when you talk about investing long-term financially into a talent, you can trust in most instances that talent will be there and able to perform for you at a high level, more so than you can trust long-term production from a football player, strictly because the level of violence that exists in a football player, one play could take you out. In baseball, it's a rarity. It's you don't have those kind of injuries. You don't sustain the kind of injuries unless you're a pitcher having to suffer from Tommy John surgery. You usually don't sustain the kind of injury on a day in, day out basis that could potentially cost you your career in the sport of baseball. So that's why you see the discrepancy in the amount of money that's doled out to players in one sport as opposed to those in another. But I appreciate the call. Let's go to Pat. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Pat?
Yes,
Pat, are you ready?
long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you. Go ahead. What's your question?
How do you think the Bryce Harper deal will affect the NL race for the Dodgers?
For the Dodgers?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, you talk about in general because listen, Bryce Harper, they wanted Bryce Harper, but they weren't willing to give him a 10-year deal or a 13-year deal. So obviously he was looking for a long-term deal, and he went someplace that was willing to give it to him, make him the face of their franchise. He doesn't have an opt-out. He has a no-trade clause, and as a result, he's not going anywhere. They don't have to worry about him leaving. He don't have to worry about them trading him. So it's a long-term commitment that both sides were willing to make. The Dodgers weren't willing to do that. And in baseball, unless it's Mike Trout, or Manny Machado in the case with the Padres, nobody's really looking to sign somebody to that kind of deal. So do I think it's going to have a drastic, colossal effect against the Dodgers? My answer would be no.
Okay. Well, are we still the favorites to
I wouldn't say the favorites. I mean, listen, they're one of the favorites, no doubt. But let's see what happens. The Cubs have the second highest payroll in Major League Baseball. Let's see what they do with that. Let's see what the Colorado Rockies do with signing Arenado, $240 million. Let's see what happens in the NL East now that Bryce Harper is with Philly. Let's monitor what's going to go on with the Mets when they've got DeGrom leading the way there. Let's see. We'll find out. Sam, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., what's going on, man?
I'm good. What's up?
So this is what I have to say today. I have to say this about LeBron James. I have to say this. I think that the way LeBron James is conducting himself, the way that he is being about his teammates, the way he's playing defense, is it's hurting his legacy. What do you have to say about that?
I don't think it's hurting his legacy. His legacy is very firmly intact. He's a three-time champion. He's a four-time league MVP. He's universally recognized as the greatest, or was universally recognized as the greatest player in the world before he got his injury on Christmas Day. He's still considered one of the top 5 players in the National Basketball Association. In some people's eyes, still number 1. He's phenomenal. So I don't think his legacy is being hurt. I think what we're pointing out is the fact that, again, when you talk about what you're trying to accomplish in L.A., you can't be pointing the finger at other people when you're the one missing your assignments or passing up on performing your duties on the defensive end of the floor. It's kind of nitpicking because it doesn't stain his greatness by any stretch of the imagination, but it doesn't look stellar at this particular moment in time, not with them struggling.
I would say that you're right there, but LeBron James is no longer the best player in the world right now. That's Kevin Durant. Kevin
Who's
Durant
the best
has
player in
those
the world?
honors. Kevin Durant.
Well, some people make that argument. I mean, I said some people make that argument. I'm one of those people. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Durant's. You know, I believe in the brother. So I'm not about to summarily dismiss that notion. There are plenty of people that make that argument between him and Kevin and LeBron James. I'd like to see what they do against one another this year, particularly as the playoffs progress. Matter of fact, we'll see what Kevin Durant does. He's out for a third NBA Finals championship and and Finals MVP. We'll see what happens. Appreciate the call. Mike, talk to me. You're live with Stephen A.
What's going on, Stephen? I had two quick Met points. So that 84.5 over/under for them this year. I don't know how is that affected with the Harper signing? He's still in the NL. Does that affect it at all since he went to the Phillies?
You talk about the New York Mets?
Yes, New York Mets. Sorry for not clarifying.
No. I'm saying to you that when we talk about what they're projected to win 84 games.
Yeah, it's like 84.5 is like right there, and I'm a Mets fan, but I want to bet that under because I think it's a good bet this year, personally.
Yeah, it might be a good bet this year. I think 84 sounds about right. I think there might be a few games, maybe 4 games over 4, 5 games over 500, 4, 6 games over 500. I kind of like that. I think that's entirely possible with the Mets, but it's still not good enough. Nets have one of the highest payrolls in Major League Baseball. They spent over $157 million. What you going to do with it?
Yeah, starter number 5 is very important, too. We don't have anybody there right now, so.
That's right. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see. But right now, the Phillies are the story. I'll be honest with you. Getting Bryce Harper is a big deal, and not only that, it's bad news for the Mets because you have somebody within your division that's 2 hours down the road that is making it very, very clear he's interested in recruiting, not just playing. That's a very big. You don't hear that very often from marquee players. I want to sign someplace and commit long term because I want to recruit people to come play with me. You don't hear guys making the kind of money, $100 million, $200, $300 million. You don't hear those guys saying stuff about recruiting, but that's what Bryce Harper said. To me, that's bad news for the Nationals. It's bad news for the Mets. And it's bad news for the Braves, who should have been more of a player in free agency. You had a relatively decent season last year. Why don't you go out there and go after some cats to bring them to Atlanta, Georgia? With their history, why wouldn't you do that? They didn't do it. I think there's a price that may be paid for that. But that's just me. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. By the way, if you missed any of my show today, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by Capital One. Capital One is reimagining banking, offering accounts with no fees or minimums that can be opened in 5 minutes. Capital One. Hey, what's in your wallet? Calls to close out the show in a minute. Don't touch that dial. It's Stephen A. ESPN Radio.
Playing football, and if I sit out another year trying to keep doing this and get better at it, that's now 2 years removed from football. So if I still love the game, I need to get back to it right now.
And that is the Straight Talk from Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. And that is part of this because it's sort of like the Kyler Murray situation in a different way. I think Kyler can always go back to baseball, but he's got to give this a shot. I don't think if you went to baseball and coming back to play football, it usually doesn't work that way, especially with quarterback positions. And I think if he thought he could still play, this was the last true opportunity he had to go back and see it.
It absolutely is. The timing on football, that clock, he was very near the end already. He
Correct.
knows that as well as anybody. But on the other side, too, listen, and it's for Kyler, the opportunity is never going to be as good for him in baseball as it was now.
Right.
The opportunity for Jason Witten to be a broadcaster is never going to be as good again as it was starting off in Monday Night Football.
Right.
So that was the sacrifice that he was willing to make, basically saying, I care less about that, more about going back and doing this thing that he's clearly passionate about, that quite frankly he's better received, like going back to the place where you are universally lauded as one of the all-time greats in that organization, a place where you are loved, versus a place where you got to hear people talk bleep about you every Tuesday morning. Like, that's not an overwhelmingly difficult decision if you've got the option.
Follow the show on Twitter at Golick and Wingo.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, the NBA is on ESPN Radio. Tune in Sunday as Kyrie and the Celtics host James Harden and the Houston Rockets. Presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 3 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Let's get back to the phones before we get on out of here for the day real quick. Let's go to Brett. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Brett?
Howdy, Stephen A. Howdy, Stephen A. What's good?
How are you? I'm all right, man. Go ahead. Hurry up real quick, buddy. Go ahead.
All right. I've been thinking a lot, and I still believe Kyler Murray will be better than Russell Wilson. How do you feel about this?
Well, the potential is there. I mean, Russell Wilson is pretty damn good, but he did set the parameter. So he did establish the standard. And that's not an insult to Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, I think, will be able to run the ball more effectively than Russell Wilson. If he can stand in the pocket and fling the football like Russell Wilson, while at the same time throw the football effectively, I don't think there's any doubt. If there was anybody that seems tailored to be a better version of Russell Wilson, it would be Kyler Murray. So I get you on that. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Let's go to Jake. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jake?
Stephen A., you're the GOAT. Seems like Bryce Harper has only really had one great season of production. Do you think this record deal for him is more about his value on the field or off the field?
No, I think it's a combination of both. I think when you look, and I don't think it's just 1 year. 1 year was elite. He struggled a little bit over the last 2 years. Remember, he batted 300 the second half of the season last year. Batted like 214 the first half. He was horrible in the first half of the season before the All-Star break, but really turned it on after that. Let's understand, when you've got a 388 on base percentage career-wise, a 5.12 slugging percentage, when you consider what he's been doing, home runs, on base percentage, et cetera, there's no denying that Bryce Harper is one of the elite players in the game. Just because he had a couple of down halves of a season doesn't offset what his potential is and what he can bring to the table at age 26 years of age. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. He's not Mike Trout, but that's really all you can say about him. He's not Mike Trout.
Yeah, it's true.
Appreciate the call. Daniel, you're live. All right, man. Daniel, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
I just wanted to ask you about what you think the Nuggets' chances are for making a run for the championship this year, and what Isaiah Thomas is going to do for them.
I think that I'd give them about 30% chance. The Nuggets have been a pleasant surprise, and they shouldn't have surprised me. They told me what they were going to do when I was in the locker room with them at the beginning of the season. Isaiah Thomas has been injured for the most part, comes back. He's making shots. I'm a Jamal Murray fan, man. I believe in this brother. I just do. That was a big-time loss by them last night because they've been dominant at home with a 27-4 record. And then you got an opportunity to take over the number one seed in the entire Western Conference, and you blow it because you can't beat the Utah Jazz at home. I think that was a problem. But nevertheless, the Nuggets have been incredibly impressive at home. That altitude, the Mile High City works to their advantage. On the road, they've just been a 500 team, basically like 15-14. So we got to put stuff in perspective and understand when they go against some of the better teams, they're going to have to show up on the road, and they haven't proven that they can do that. But they do have the talent and a high enough seed where they should definitely get past the first round, and they'll have a legitimate shot at getting past the divisional round series. I don't believe they will. I think they'll go home in the second round. That's just my personal opinion. Unless they face LeBron and the Lakers, and the Lakers with LeBron might beat them if LeBron is lucky enough to get there, which I'm not sure is going to be the case. But I got to get on out of here. I hope y'all all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to y'all Monday. Until then, peace and love, everybody. Stephen A. signing off.
Hey, what's up? It's Will Kane. Coming up right after Stephen A. Smith, join us on The Will Kane Show, live on ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80, and ESPN News.